Dr. Grant Patrick. The Redheads, Unforgettable Grandpa's Fairy Tales. Chapter 16. The Fall of the Lord of Shadows. The morning was calm, but an eerie stillness draped over the forest. The usual symphony of birdsong was muted, and even the rustling leaves seemed hesitant, as though the forest itself held its breath. The Redheads stood beneath the heartwood tree, its faintly glowing aura a testament to their woven protective barrier. Their expressions mirrored the gravity of the moment. They had long prepared for this day. The guardians, ever watchful, had sensed the tremors of impending darkness, faint pulses in the earth that whispered of a malevolent approach. Roisin rested her hand gently against the heartwood tree, seeking comfort in its warmth. "It's so quiet," she murmured, her gaze sweeping the hushed clearing. "Too quiet." "It's the calm before the storm," Liam replied, his voice steady despite the unease prickling the air. "We're ready for this." As though answering his words, a sudden chill swept through the clearing. Shadows stretched unnaturally, twisting and writhing like living things. The forest's stillness deepened, oppressive and heavy. Then, from the darkened edge of the clearing, a figure emerged. Cloaked in a shroud of shadow, the Lord of Shadows appeared, his form shifting like smoke caught in a breeze. His voice, a sinister hiss, echoed with malice. "So, you've gathered to resist me," he sneered, his tone sharp and venomous. "You think you can stand against the power of shadows?" Liam stepped forward, unflinching as he met the dark figure's gaze. "We don't fear you," he declared, his voice resolute. "We know who you are and what you seek, and we will not let you take our home." The Lord of Shadows laughed, a chilling sound that sent an involuntary shiver through the group. "Brave words, little ones," he mocked, his eyes glinting with a sinister, otherworldly light. "But bravery alone will not save you." With a flick of his hand, the Lord of Shadows unleashed a tidal wave of dark energy, surging toward them like a blackened flood. The Redheads stood firm, their hands linked in unison as they focused on reinforcing the barrier encircling the heartwood tree. The dark wave collided with the barrier, and for a moment, it seemed the light might falter. The shadowy force clawed and pressed against their defenses. But the Redheads' bond held strong, their unity a glowing anchor against the tide. The barrier blazed with radiant light, pushing back the encroaching darkness until the wave evaporated into nothingness. The Lord of Shadows narrowed his eyes, displeasure etched into his ever-shifting form. "Impressive," he murmured, his voice a quiet menace. "But you cannot protect them all." He raised his hand once more, and the shadows writhed anew, molding themselves into grotesque forms. Monstrous creatures took shape, their glowing eyes burning with malevolence. They snarled and hissed, their movements predatory as they advanced toward the Redheads with chilling intent. "We have to protect the forest," cried Eber, her voice ringing with determination. "We can't let them harm the heartwood tree." The Redheads sprang into action, each one channeling their unique gifts to counter the dark creatures. Liam took his place at the forefront, his gift of resilience rendering him steadfast against the creatures' relentless attacks. With unyielding courage, he struck back, his movements precise and fierce. Roisin danced through the chaos with a natural grace, her gift of harmony softening the creatures' rage. Her touch was transformative. As she reached them, their snarls dissolved into calm, and they reverted to harmless woodland animals, their shadows banished. Kieran, ablaze with fiery intensity, wielded his gift of courage like a weapon. He charged fearlessly into the fray, every strike a testament to his indomitable resolve, driving back the encroaching darkness with unrelenting vigor. But the Lord of Shadows was cunning, his dark influence unyielding. For every creature the Redheads subdued, two more seemed to rise in their place, born from the swirling abyss. The team fought tirelessly, yet the weight of the darkness began to press on them, testing their endurance and resolve. From the depths of the clearing, the Lord of Shadows let loose a voice that slithered through the air, laden with malice. "You are foolish to resist me," he sneered. "The shadows are endless, and your strength finite. Sooner or later, you will fall." The Redheads shared a glance, their fists clenched in defiance. They refused to yield to his taunts, knowing he thrived on fear and doubt. They stood united, drawing strength from one another. Together, they fought on, their bond unbroken. Each time one of them faltered, another seamlessly stepped in to shield them, their teamwork as fluid as a river's flow. They were more than a team, they were family, their love for each other and the forest a shield stronger than any barrier. Still, the darkness bore down on them, its unrelenting presence sapping their strength. The Redheads were resolute, but they could feel the enormity of the Lord of Shadow's power. They knew they couldn't endure alone for much longer. Suddenly, a voice broke through the oppressive gloom, a deep, familiar timbre that carried with it a wave of hope. "You are not alone." The Redheads turned to see the Guardians standing tall behind them, their forms glowing with a celestial light. At their head stood the silver-furred wolf, their wise mentor, his luminous eyes brimming with resolve. "We have watched you, young ones, and we are proud of your courage," he said, his voice warm yet commanding. "But this fight is not yours to bear alone." With a determined nod, the wolf led the Guardians into battle. The bear, wielding his gift of might, barreled into the dark creatures, scattering them like leaves with the sheer force of his massive paws. The owl, her gift of wisdom shining like a beacon, guided the Redheads, predicting the creatures' movements and helping them evade attacks with precision. The Redheads felt a renewed surge of energy, their spirits bolstered by the Guardians' arrival. Together, they fought with newfound strength, their unity creating a force powerful enough to push back the Lord of Shadow's oppressive influence. The Lord of Shadows snarled in frustration, his form flickering as he grappled to maintain control. The bonds of light and courage surrounding the Redheads and the Guardians were unlike anything he had faced. His grip on the forest weakened under their combined might. "You will not win," he hissed, his voice dripping with venom. "The shadows will consume you all." Undeterred, the Redheads advanced, their resolve unyielding. With each step, they drove the Lord of Shadows further back, extinguishing the darkness he had unleashed. Their determination became a beacon of hope, their collective will unshakable. At last, with a powerful cry of defiance, the Redheads unleashed their united energy, a radiant wave of light that surged toward the Lord of Shadows. The wave engulfed him, dissolving his form into wisps of shadow that scattered into the wind. A profound silence fell over the forest, broken only by the soft rustling of leaves in the gentle breeze. The Redheads stood together, breathing heavily but victorious. They had triumphed, banishing the Lord of Shadows and his dark grip from the Heartwood. The Guardians approached, their presence glowing with quiet pride. The silver-furred wolf stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with warmth and approval. "You have done well, young ones," he said, his deep voice resonating with encouragement. "You have shown that true strength is not found in power alone, but in the bonds we share and the love that unites us." The Redheads exchanged grateful glances, their hearts swelling with gratitude. They had faced a great darkness and emerged stronger, their spirits steadfast and their unity unbroken. As the first rays of dawn filtered through the trees, illuminating the forest in golden light, they understood that their journey was far from over. Yet they also knew, with unwavering certainty, that whatever trials awaited them, they would face them together. For they were the Redheads, the protectors of the Heartwood, bound by a love and loyalty no darkness could ever shatter.